Most people treat Claude like a search engine with better grammar. They type in a question, get an answer, and move on. But I use Claude to run 5 systems inside my business. It is like having 5 senior strategists working around the clock for $20 a month. And I only figured this out after building 2 companies, closing 8 figures in sales, getting featured in Forbes, and spending the last 3 to 4 years teaching thousands of entrepreneurs how to use AI through my programs at Future IQ and AIM Academy. So today, I am sharing the 5 strategies I use Claude for that most entrepreneurs will never figure out on their own. The first strategy is called the blueprint. When I first started using AI, every conversation felt like starting over. I would explain my business, my audience, my goals, and by the time Claude had enough context to actually help me, I had already wasted 10 minutes. It was like hiring a new assistant every single day and having to retrain them from scratch before they actually could do anything useful. Most entrepreneurs are still doing this, and it is the #1 reason their AI outputs feel generic. Here is how I fixed it. I use a 3-step system I called B.I.P. Build, instruct, package. B is for build your identity. Go into Claude, open voice mode, or just type and tell it everything about you. Not a resume. I'm talking about the real stuff. Your business model, how you make money, how you're thinking about making money, who your customers are, what your brand actually sounds like, and what you refuse it to sound like. Your goals for the next 90 days, and I want you to be messy. Do not edit yourself. Just download your brain. Then tell Claude to take everything you just said and organize it into a summary of who you are, how you think, and how you want responses shaped. I is for instruct. Take that summary and paste it into your profile settings under the section that says what personal preferences should Claude consider in responses. Now, every single conversation starts with Claude already knowing who you are. Mine knows I am a CEO, I teach AI certifications, I create content across YouTube, Instagram, Substack, and LinkedIn, and I want responses that are direct with zero fluff. P is for package it into projects. This is where it gets powerful. Claude has a projects feature where you create dedicated workspaces. I have one for my YouTube channel. I have one for my course curriculum at AIM Academy. I have one for all my students, one for sales and launch copy, one for investor and press communications. Every project has its own files, its own custom instructions, its own context. So when I open my YouTube project and I say, write me a script about AI for entrepreneurs, Claude already knows my voice, my audience, my format, and my content pillars. I do not have to keep repeating things over and over and over every single time. This turns Claude from a temporary chatbot into a persistent business brain. But building the brain is only step 1. You still need it to do the work, and that is our next strategy. The second strategy is called the war room. A few months ago, I was preparing for a keynote. I had to research 3 competitors in the AI education space, pull together market data, draft a pitch deck outline, and rewrite the opening of my talk, all in one afternoon. Before Claude, that would have been a full week of work, hiring a researcher, waiting on a copywriter, going back and forth with the designer on the deck structure. Instead, I opened 3 Claude conversations at the same exact time. One was running deep analysis on the competitors. I uploaded their websites, their course pages, their pricing, and I told Claude to give me a side-by-side comparison and tell me where I had a positioning gap. The second conversation was pulling market data. I told Claude to go search for the latest numbers on the AI education market and give me 3 stats I could open my keynote with. The third conversation was rewriting my talk opening. I pasted in the old version and said, this sounds like every other AI speaker. I want you to rewrite it so it sounds like a CEO who has actually built something, not someone who has just read about it. All 3 running at the same time. By the end of that afternoon, I had a competitor analysis, fresh market stats, and a keynote opening that made the organizer say, that was the best talk we have ever had, and we are rebooking you for next year. There are 3 capabilities inside Claude that made this possible. First, agent level tasking. Stop asking Claude one small task at a time. Give it a full mission. Find me 30 potential podcast hosts in the AI and business space. Give me their audience size, contact info, and a one-line pitch tailored to each one. Let it run. You go and do something else. Second is vision. Claude could see, screenshot your analytics dashboard, your ad performance, and a competitor's landing page. Upload it and say, analyze this and tell me the one thing I should change. I do this with my YouTube analytics consistently. I screenshot the data, drop it in, and Claude finds the patterns I would have missed staring at the numbers myself. Third, deep research. Claude could search the internet and pull fresh, cited data in real time. I use this before every speaking engagement, every launch, every strategy session. Search the latest data on AI adoption among small business owners in 2026. I'm getting real numbers, real sources, and I'm not guessing. This war room gives you an army of strategists, but the next strategy is not about getting Claude to follow orders. It is about getting Claude to fight for you. The third strategy is called the sparring partner. When I was closing deals in sales for 20 years, I learned something that most entrepreneurs never figured out. The worst thing you can do before a high stakes conversation is only talk to people who agree with you. I used to rehearse my pitches with colleagues and friends and family, and they would say, "That sounds great." Then I would walk into the room and the prospect would ask me one hard question I had not prepared for, and the whole thing would fall apart, guys. So listen, the best salespeople I ever worked with, they would do the opposite. They would find the most skeptical person in the room and say, tear this apart. Not because they wanted to feel bad, but because they wanted to walk into that meeting bulletproof. But most people use Claude for validation. Tell me this is a good idea. Make this sound better. That is the wrong move, my friends. You should be using Claude for violation. Break my thinking. Here is how. First, I need you to force that type of thinking. Do not ask Claude, what do you think? Instead, say, audit this business plan using first principles. Act as if you are an investor who has seen 1,000 pitches and is looking for the fatal flaw. You will not get what you want to hear, but you will get what you need to hear. Second, shadow box before the real fight. Before I go into any pitch, any partnership call, any negotiation, I tell Claude to stimulate the conversation. You are a skeptical investor. I am pitching you with my AI certification program. I want you to push back on everything. Challenge my pricing, my market size, the thing that makes me different. By the time I walk into the actual meeting, I have already heard every objection and I have an answer for each one. Third, the blind spot check. Okay, feed Claude your strategy and ask one question. Based on everything you know about me and my business, what am I not seeing? When you start making money and building a reputation, you develop 2 dangerous habits. You build an ego bubble and you surround yourself with people who just say yes. Those yes men. Claude does not care about your feelings, so I want you to use that. This strategy saves you from yourself, but knowing where you are wrong is not enough. You also need to learn fast about what is right. This is where the next one comes in. The fourth strategy is called the download. There is a trap that I see almost every entrepreneur fall into with AI. They use it to produce work, but they never use it to produce understanding. They copy the output, they paste it into an email or a deck or even a social media post, and they sound smart for 5 minutes until someone asks them a follow-up question, and they have nothing. I call this rented intelligence. You are borrowing answers you do not own. When I launched AIM Academy, I had to learn things real fast. New frameworks, new tools, new technical concepts that I have never touched before. I could have just asked Claude to give me the answers, but then I would be the person who sounds smart in the meeting, but freezes when someone goes a little bit deeper. Instead, I use Claude to actually teach me. Here is how. First is the translation trick. When I am learning something technical, I do not ask Claude to explain it the textbook way. I say explain how machine learning models work using the analogy of training a new sales rep. Suddenly, the jargon disappears and the concept just clicks because it is mapped to something I already understand. Your business experience is not the limitation. It is the fastest bridge to learning something new, so use that. Second, the layered explanation. I tell Claude to explain a concept 3 ways. First, like I am brand new and have never heard of this. Second, like I have been doing this for a year and need the logic. Third, like I am teaching it to my students at AIM Academy and need the depth. When you stack those 3 levels, the concept locks in. Third, the teach back test. After Claude explains something, I say, now quiz me. Ask me 5 questions to see if I actually understand this. If I get it wrong, explain it a different way. This is honestly the fastest way to go from surface level knowledge to real understanding, and it is free. The people who win in the AI era are not the ones who can get the best outputs. They are the ones who can actually understand what those outputs mean. Use Claude to grow faster, not just go faster. But even with all of this firepower, there's one more strategy you need, because the hardest part of being an entrepreneur is not the strategy. It is what happens inside your head at 2 a.m. when you cannot sleep. For those entrepreneurs, let's lock in, let's go. The 5th strategy is called the mirror. I'm gonna be completely real with you for a moment here. Building a business, especially when you have kids, while trying to become the first multimillionaire in your family, is not something you can Google your way through. There are nights where the weight of every decision sits on your chest and there is nobody to call. Your team is asleep, your mentor is not available, your friends do not fully understand the pressure. Okay? That is when I open Claude. Not to get business advice, not to write copy, to think out loud with something that has 0 emotional baggage, 0 judgment, and infinite patience. Here are 3 ways I use Claude as a thinking partner when the pressure is the highest. First, the brain dump. When I am overwhelmed and everything feels urgent, I open Claude and say, I am going to unload everything that is stressing me out right now. Do not interrupt. I need you just to listen and lock in. When I am done, I need you to organize my chaos into 3 categories: problems I can solve today, problems I need to delegate, and noise I need to ignore. That alone has saved me from making reactive decisions more times than I can count. Second, the reframe. When something goes wrong, a launch that underperforms, a partnership that falls through, a month where the numbers do not hit, I tell Claude, here is what happened, reframe this for me, tell me what the opportunity is that I am not seeing right now. It does not fix the problem, but it stops the emotional spiral long enough for me to think clearly again. Third, the decision test. Before I make any major move, I talk it through with Claude first. I am about to invest in this. Here is my logic. Here is what I am afraid of. Have a conversation with me. Push back where my reasoning is weak. I do not take Claude's advice as gospel. This is not the point. The point is that talking it out loud, even to an AI, forces you to hear your own thinking, and half the time you realize the answer was already there. You just needed something to bounce it off of. We just covered 5 strategies and 15 ways to use Claude that most entrepreneurs will never discover. The blueprint to build your AI brain, the war room to deploy it across multiple fronts, the sparring partner to challenge your thinking before the world does, the download to actually learn, not just copy, and the mirror to stay clear-headed when the pressure is the highest. But here is what I want you to really walk away with. These strategies are an edge right now, but but what is rare today becomes required tomorrow. Listen to that. The entrepreneurs who start building these systems now will have a massive head start when everyone else catches up. So pick one, start today, build it into how you work, then come back and stack the next one. Don't do everything at once. I want you to drop a comment and tell me which strategy you are starting with. I read every single one, okay? And if you want the full breakdown with the exact prompts I use for each one of these, I put a free guide in. Link is in the description. It's the first link. Go get it now. Run. I need you to run, not walk. Now, if you want to go even deeper, I made a video that walks you through 24 hidden features inside Claude that most people do not even know exist. Click below and I'll see you in the next one.